Somewhere Better by I_am_Ellie on AU3. Episode 40. Chapter 3. I Did It For Me. When Izuku and Shouta come back to the apartment later that same day, Nemuri and Hizashi were on the couch playing a card game. There was a stack of cards in the middle of the table, and Hizashi and Nemuri each seemed to be holding at least a third of the deck. Shouta realized what game they were playing, dread building up in his stomach, a moment before Nemuri shouted, "Bullshit! That is bullshit! Hizashi Yamada, you're a filthy fucking liar! Do you kiss your mother with that mouth?" Hizashi snorted. "No, but I kiss my fiancé with it," he joked, flipping the card on top of the deck over the table. "Take the deck, bitch." Hizashi and Nemuri were best friends. Shouta had no doubt that Hizashi told Nemuri some things that he didn't even tell Shouta, and they were engaged to be married. But there was one game that could turn them from best friends to fast enemies. BS. Or as Nemuri and Hizashi called it, bullshit, there's no way. Izuku was looking at the two adults in confusion, and a bit of awe. He looked up at Shouta. "Anki Sho?" he asked quietly. Nemuri and Hizashi seemed to be too lost in their argument to even notice Hizashi and Izuku were in the room. "What's bullshit?" Shouta didn't answer, instead activating his quirk and glaring at his fiancé and best friend. They fell silent, turning to look at him. Their eyes fell down to a little child standing next to him, and both their faces went pale. "Ankisashi, what's bullshit mean?" Izuku asked Hizashi, and Hizashi went impossibly paler. Shota's glare intensified. "It means cow manure," Shouta said. "And it's not something you need to be saying. Either of you." He added, gesturing to Hizashi as well. "Is it a special word?" Izuku asked, and Shouta nodded. "Oh, what about the other words they said?" "Those are special words too. Don't use them," Shouta said. Izuku nodded, and Shouta finally blinked, deactivating his quirk. He rubbed at his dry eyes, feeling a little headache spike up behind them. He was far too tired for this. "Can you please go do your chores before dinner?" he requested, and Izuku nodded, running off to do just that. Shouta collapsed on the couch next to Nemuri, leaning against the back of the couch. Her limbs felt heavy, like they'd been attached to a 10-pound weights, and he wanted nothing more than to fall asleep. "That bad, huh?" Hizashi asked from the other side of Nemuri. "Sorry about the cursing, by the way." Shouta couldn't see Hizashi, since his eyes were closed, but he could tell the man was sheepish. "It's fine," he murmured, sighed slowly. "And yes, it was bad." Bad didn't seem like the right word. It didn't seem to fully encompass the horribleness of the entire situation correctly. But he couldn't seem to think of any other word that would do it justice. Whether that was because of the exhaustion or something else, he had no idea. "Was it the therapist?" Nemuri asked. "Was she not a good fit? You could always just get a different one." "No, she was fine," Shouta admitted, intimately. "A bit unorganized, but it was obvious enough she was serious about her job, and she seemed great working with Izuku." "It's Izuku." He was having trouble wrapping his mind around the entire interaction during the session. It had been like showing up during the middle of a movie he'd never watched before, and not having a clue what was going on. Shouta wasn't a fan of the feeling. If Yuna's assessment was correct, and Shouta suspected they were, what did that say about Shota's ability to take care of the child? What does that say about Shouta as a person? That he had been so wrapped up in his own problems, the debt, his new job, everything, that he hadn't noticed that Izuku, the child he was sworn to protect, the only thing he had left of his sister, felt like an outsider in his own home. That he was hiding something. He hadn't noticed it before. Now that it had been brought to his attention, it was so obvious. How he had not seen it. There was that small voice in the back of his head, the voice telling him it wasn't his fault, that Izuku hadn't said anything, that he couldn't have possibly have been expecting to know. But there was a louder voice shouting over the small one, telling him that he should have. It was a lot easier to listen to the loud voice. What happened with Izuku? Hizashi asked, and Shouta sat forward, opening his eyes. It was as if all the joy that had been in the room from the card game had sucked right out, replaced by the tense nervousness and concern. Yuna, his therapist, asked him to draw his family. He drew us, he said, gesturing between them, and himself. She looked at the drawing and she analyzed it, I guess. It was frightening, honestly. I don't know how she did it, but she concluded from it that Izuku feels like an outsider, I guess, and that he's hiding something. Does he feel like an outsider because of what he's hiding, or because... It's how she trailed off. Shouta knew what he was trying to say. Because of us. I don't know. Shouta said. We won't know unless we find out what he's hiding. I could try and talk to him, Nemuri suggested. I'm the fun aunt, and I can't really ground him, so he might tell me what's been going on in his mind. That might be a good idea, Hisashi noted. You can ask him what's been on his mind, why he's acting the way he is. Tell him that if he needs to, talk or anything, you'll be there. Stuff like that, maybe he'll say something. Shouta wasn't sure if that would work, but it was better than nothing. And if all else fails, Nemuri added, Kid's a horrible liar. He'll let something slip. There's also that, Shouta thought ironically. Done, Ankisho! Izuku shouted, rushing back into the room. Shouta tried to push his headache and his exhaustion aside, if only for just a moment. Cats fed and watered? Izuku nodded. Toys cleaned up? He nodded again. Bed made? Izuku's eyes widened. Almost! He exclaimed, running off to do just that. Shouta felt a bit fond in that moment. When it came to his chores, there was one thing he could always count on from the child. Him forgetting to make his bed. He seems a bit happier. Nemuri noted. Maybe the therapist worked. After one session, doubtful. Shouta sighed. It was a nice thought, though. I think he just likes having something to do. Nemuri laughed, but it was quiet and a little sad. Yeah, I guess you'd know all about that, wouldn't you? Pardon? God, Sho, you worked yourself to the bone when we were in high school. That's all she said, and Nemuri nodded enthusiastically. You trained harder than everyone, even though it was pretty obvious you were one of the most physically capable kids in the class. That much was probably true. He had been training to be a hero in his own time, since he was 7 years old. Gymnastic lesson, self-defense classes, parkour, all a part of his plan to be an underground hero, to help people. Shouta shrugged. I had to work hard just to get into the hero program. I didn't think I had a chance of getting in when I applied, and I wanted to keep my spot. And he wanted his fighting style, his physical abilities, beyond his quirk, to make up for the fact that his powers weren't as flashy or impressive as the other kids in his class. Throw in the fact that he was one of the youngest students in his class, and the smallest because of his lack of proper diet. And it had practically been a requirement that he worked harder than everyone else to succeed. I did what I had to do. And he did. And he'd done it. Well, he was proud of himself for that. For getting into the hero course in the first place. All alone, with no one supporting him besides an estranged sister and his instructors. He'd done that, and he didn't regret a moment of it. We know, that's all she said, smiling fondly, and Shouta didn't like it because it reminded him of the way Hizashi smiled at Izuku, when he'd done something silly or some sort of childish logic that had fueled his actions and changed his motives. Nemuri is saying, when it comes to doing something to distract yourself, you and Izuku have a lot in common. Shouta felt a bit offended. I didn't put all that work just to stop thinking about my problems. He snapped. I did not do anything for my mother, or Inko, or my father, or anyone. I put in all that work for me. I did it for myself, so I could be where I am today. That has nothing to do with them, or any problems I had. I didn't do it for them. We know you didn't, Shouta, Nemuri said, hands raised pathetically. We just thought, stop thinking, Shouta stated firmly. He felt an odd sense of buzzing right under his skin, and he felt like tearing at his hair in frustration. Why does it always have to come back to me? We're talking about Izuku. We're talking about the child. We're not talking about me or what happened or anything. And then you just. We only meant. Yes, but not everything is about that. Shouta said. It happened. It was horrible. It hurt. It hurt a lot. And some days it's hard to think about it. But it doesn't matter because we're talking about Izuku. We are focusing on Izuku and what Izuku needs and how to help Izuku. Shouta, we only thought you might have something in common with Izuku. In that respect, we didn't mean. And Shouta knew that. He knew what they had meant. He knew what they were been trying to say. But that didn't stop the fact that, in his tired state he was, with the buzzing in his skin and the headache behind his eyes, and that all too familiar feeling of hopelessness that seemed to spring up so often when it came to the cabbage, his temper was all too easy to trigger. And it was moments like these that he hated his brain. He gritted his teeth, and he could hear them creaking. I apologize for yelling, he said stiffly. I am angry, and I'm going to my bedroom to calm down. Please do not bother me. And with that, he left. Just like that, he turned the lights off in his bedroom and turns the shade lamp on, pacing up and down his bedroom, wrinkling his hands, trying to stop the indignation and frustration from boiling his blood. Flopped down onto the mattress, stared up at the ceiling, lurched upwards so fast he got a head rush, and began pacing again and again and again until his blood cooled and his mind was clear and his headache had dulled into a small, annoying throb. He would kill it with Tylenol, but he could do that later, and he had to focus on the now. He sat at the edge of his mattress, running his hands through his shaggy hair and tightly rubbing at his scalp. Winced, because that really hurt, but did it again, because it was good for keeping himself in the now and in the moment, and he needed to do that so he could think. He heard a small creak, little feet paddling across the floorboards, then two hands reaching up and grabbing his wrist and pulling him away from his hair, and it made Shota's heart ache because Izuku should not be taking care of him. Sad? Izuku asked, frowning worryingly. A little, Shouta admitted. I'm all right, child. Shouta looked far from convinced, but he seemed to accept Shota's answer. Do you want me to get Ankisashi? Izuku asked, and Shouta shook his head. Oh, do you want me to leave? No, you can stay, Shouta said. Izuku nodded, attempting to climb up next to him on the bed and, after struggling for a moment, succeeded. He sat next to Shouta on the mattress, feet swinging out from in front of him. Did you and Ankisashi fight? Izuku asked, and Shouta wasn't sure how to answer the child. Wasn't sure if what they had could be considered a fight. It had been Shouta screaming and Nemuri and Hizashi trying to de-escalate the situation. I was angry, yes, and I said some things I regret. But it's what you've been thinking. The voice, loud in his head, said. But it'll be okay. He hoped it would. He really, really hoped it would. Do you want to go back to sleep? Izuku asked. I'll go get your fancy blanket, Izuku said before Shouta could answer, running up onto the hallway and returning with the weighted blanket. He thrust it into Shota's hands. Sleep, the tiny child demanded. I'll stay in here and tell Ankisashi and Unki Nemuri to go away if they try to come in. Shouta was reminded of something Nemuri had said to Izuku, what felt like 1,000,000 years ago, back when Shouta was still recovering from his knee injury. Knight in shining armor. And now, with Izuku Determined's little face staring up at him, naive protectiveness shining in the boy's eyes, Shouta thought that was fairly accurate. All right, Shouta said, climbing under the covers and covering himself up with the weighted blanket. I'm asleep. See? Sleeping people don't talk, Izuku reminded him. The boy walked to the other side of the bed, turning off the lamp, and Shouta watched in the dim lighting of the room as Izuku walked over to the door of Shota's bedroom and plopped down on the floor next to it. Sleep. Don't be silly. Shouta closed his eyes, more pretending to be asleep than actually resting, though it was nice to just sit in the dark for a while. His aching head certainly thanked him for it. Every once in a while, he heard Izuku shifting on the floor on the ground, by the door, but nothing else other than complete silence for a good 15 minutes, and then a quiet knock on the door. Sho, Hizashi called. Babe, can I come in? Shouta opened his eyes and saw Izuku's shaped outline jump to his feet, opening the door just a crack. A wedge of orange light shining into the room. Nope, Izuku said absurdly. No one but me and Unky Sho are allowed. Nope, nope, nope. Izu, kid, let me in, Hizashi said. No, Izuku said again. I'm guarding the room. No one gets to come in till me and Unky Sho say so. Go away. It's okay, child, Shouta said, sitting up. Let him in. Izuku frowned. It's all right, Shouta said again. Izuku nodded after a moment of pondering, slowly opening the door and stepping out into the hallway. Hizashi stepped in. Shouta maneuvered himself so he was sitting on the edge of the bed, the weighted blanket still covering his lap, tangled up around his feet. It was one of their older blankets. The edge was frayed. Shouta fidgeted with the little strands of it that stuck out. Hizashi sat next to him in the bed, mattress dipping slightly. Took a deep breath. I'm sorry. Don't say that, Shouta said, feeling more guilty than ever. You shouldn't be sorry. Don't be sorry. I'm sorry. No, I should be apologizing. I know you're weird talking about it sometimes, and I wasn't thinking. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. I should have not have gotten angry, Shouta answered. He hadn't had the right to get angry, not over something so small, not over an implication of a subject that made him uncomfortable, that was immature on several levels. I'm sorry, too. Don't. Hizashi stopped talking, shorted. I'm not gonna say anything about you not having to apologize, Hizashi stated, voice full of mirth. We'll just end up being here all night. There's no real point, is there? There's a small laugh out of Shouta, and they sat there laughing together, until it finally all faded into silence again. Hizashi sighed heavily, running a hand through his hair. God, he said empathetically. What happened to a show? He gestured between the two of them. Shouta thought he knew what Hizashi meant, in a way. Things were certainly different. Offbeat, like they weren't running on the same pace. I don't know, Shouta admitted. Things used to be so much easier, Hizashi groaned. I knew you. I know you. I love you, but now, sometimes I just don't even know what you're feeling, and I knew that before. It's upsetting. Off kilter, Shouta murmured. Different. Yeah, Hizashi agreed. Off tempo. Exactly. Then Shouta frowned at the door. We just have to find the beat again. Hizashi rubbed his eyes under his glasses. Just have to find the beat again, he echoed, somehow sounding more tired than Shouta felt. It's frightening. Yes, Hizashi agreed. Push through and conquer, I guess. Plus ultra, Hizashi said with no rubberlance whatsoever. They sat in silence, staring at the wall. Sometimes silence was better than talking, especially when you had no idea what to say. This is another one of those chapters where, moments where I want to talk about, psychology-wise, not psychology-wise, but deep diving into the character and stuff that's happening. So, first of all, another argument, kind of, except Nemuri was present, and we have this very interesting moment between them where Hizashi is like, finally putting into voice the fact that something has changed between them. Things used to be different. Hizashi used to know how Shouta felt, right? And stuff like that. And obviously they're off center again, right? Or not again, but they're off center. Something happened, right? And clearly, I feel that what happened is outside. It is not inside. This is another situation where I'm gonna talk where it's, okay, this is external circumstances messing with your relationship. It is not something internal within the relationship. I think this is completely external, right? Being in debt, literally having to take care of a child, said child having to go through troubles, literally chronic pains in the knee, losing a sense of hearing to a certain degree, right? All of this. Then the struggles of obviously getting married, because that shit is, one, expensive, and two, stressful sometimes, right? So all of this, the new job, everything, it's too much, too soon, too much change. And even for someone who isn't neurodivergent, too much change can really affect the psyche, okay? It could really put someone off center, off balance, and clearly in this circumstance, they're kind of off center, they're kind of off balance, they're not really going to the same tempo, but clearly they still want to try. And this is why this is a healthy relationship, because they're like, you know what? We just have to get back to it. We just have to try to, fix this, right? It's not one of those moments like, if it was, what's it called? As much as I don't want to say like my generation kind of thing, but like, if this was how, kids my age now and day behaved in relationships, because I've seen people my age behave in relationships, they would see this, and in the sense, like, feel this, right? And they would think, well, we need to not be engaged anymore. We can't be together because clearly we're not working for each other, right? Clearly, we're off center. We're off beat. We are no longer good together. Boom. End the relationship, right? No, you work through things, right? And after working through things and figuring out, fuck, nothing's working, not even couples counseling, maybe this is, too much. Maybe it is finally time to accept the fact that we are too offbeat. We cannot get back into beat. Ugh! Shit! I drank... Ew, that's disgusting! Oh, I hate this. I'm killing myself. No, I'm not. Ew! No! Why did that have to happen to me? Ugh, I want to throw up now. Okay, so my throat is a little parched. Right, I've been sitting here, I've been recording for a while, so my throat's a little parched. So I thought, let me just grab this Gatorade that's on my desk because it's here and I know I opened it yesterday and it's closed, so it should be okay. So I open it up and I go to drink out of it, and then I feel something in my mouth and I spit it out and it's a fly. What the fuck? It was closed. What the Ugh. Ugh. I probably shouldn't be sharing this with you guys either, but I am because I'm an oversharer. Okay, but as I was saying, oh, that's disgusting. Okay. As I was saying, obviously in this situation, this is very realistic. And I really do love this portrayal of Hizashi and Aizawa, right? Like, do not get me wrong, right? I love it when they're just perfect for each other and know exactly what they're feeling, but let's be realistic. This is a realistic relationship looks like. Ups and downs. This is a healthy relationship. This is a normal relationship, right? If your relationship looks like this, that's okay, because that's normal. That is okay and that's normal. See, what it wouldn't be okay is if you guys ignore the fact that there's a problem. It would no longer be healthy in the sense of not healthy, like, like really like toxic or stuff, but in the sense of like, okay, this is off center, we're not being in a healthy relationship, therefore this relationship's gonna start to wither, right? It's gonna start to die off in the sense of you're gonna end up breaking up because you're not, practicing healthy practices, right? But you're not toxic, right? I just want to clarify, right? So in the sense to make this a no longer quote unquote healthy relationship, a working relationship, a functional relationship, is if instead of sitting there and accepting the fact, okay, we're off center, we're off beat, something happened, we need to fix it, right? Instead of going like that and having this, conversation, they ignore that and continue off like nothing is wrong. That is where we would fall under the whole, okay, if you continue this and you do not fix the problem, it will get bigger and it will break the relationship. But obviously in this, we see them that they're, holding it together, going, and trying, right? Now, I want to talk about what probably happened with Shouta and why he reacted so viscerally. So, that comment made him feel attacked, right? And as much as he wants to think to himself, this is silly, why am I so mad about this? This makes no sense. This is another form of, adults, not fully understanding that sometimes their anger is far deeper and their feelings for something is far deeper than one fully understands, right? And in this sense, Aizawa was like, I don't understand why I'm so mad at this. Shouta, you're mad at this because it is yet another reminder that, your family abandoned you, your family did this to you, and not to mention the fact that you had to do it all alone. I think the underlying issue and the underlying anger there is the reminder that he had no one, and he does not want to be that for Izuku. So for someone to say, oh, you have similar traits to Izuku about, doing things to ignore the problem or bury yourself into work so that you don't have to think about the problem, right? For Shouta is like, okay, well, my problem was the fact that my family was never there. My family was horrible, and I had to do everything myself. And that hit a strum. Not only, obviously, with his past trauma and all of that. He probably doesn't like thinking about that, which is why he stuck himself into work a lot. Why he didn't think about it, right? Why he didn't acknowledge it, right? He tried to move on from it, right? We're moving on to now the whole undertone of it as well. If Izuku's doing the same thing as Shouta, in Shota's mind, that means he failed. He failed. He failed. He failed Izuku. Because Izuku's feeling like how he felt as a kid. And Shota's thinking, I can't repeat the same mistake my family did. So for Hizashi and Nemuri to say that, to him, it wasn't a simple, oh, you have similar traits. It's, you're failing him like how they failed you. And it could also just be a whole thing of, oh, you did all this because what's it called? This could also be in the sense of like, actually him and not taking into account Izuku. Like, you did all this work, all this force, and it's thanks to them. And obviously this is triggering. It is not thanks to them. I did it all myself. Clearly, yes, part of it is thanks to them. But for someone to, for example, I hate the fact that some of my friends I met via, through my manipulator, my abuser. I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate so much that certain aspects of my life, of my personality, is attributed to that person. It makes me absolutely livid, okay? I hate that certain aspects of my life are forever entangled into that person. And that might be what Shota's also feeling. He hates the fact that part of the reason that he is who he is and he is where he is thanks to them in a certain way, shape, or form. And he hates that. So, take that into account. Take into account the failure aspect. And take into account the fact that he probably just doesn't want to remember these shitty people to begin with. Mix it all together with an already stressful day, and we get what happened. Now, onto another part of Echo's psychology corner. I want to talk about how Izuku immediately goes, "Are you sad? Let me fix it. I want to help you." This is his grief showing. In the sense of, I don't want you to, what happened to my mom to happen to you. So please, let me help you. I'll help you. I'll protect you. I'll help you. I'll do anything, right? That's Izuku doing that because Izuku has trauma. So, yeah, just wanted to clarify on that one. Yeah, this has been a long one, this mid-lengthy one. I also now realize that chapters 1 and 2, both parts in those 4 videos, it said someone better, and the title, it's somewhere better. If I accidentally say somewhere better, that is my bad. Or someone better, that is my bad. It is really similar. Someone better, somewhere better. You know, my bad. I'm fixing it. Hopefully. I don't know. I probably won't fix it. I'll leave it because it's hilarious. So, yeah. Anyways, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.